Hey everyone, time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So let's start off with what Rafa worked on today. Rafa worked on the barn door again and got a couple things done. Let's see. So one of which was the air cleaners that are going on those SU side draft carburetors. The air cleaners were pretty much a total disaster, and so he spent quite a bit of time welding up extra holes in those, and he basically figured out the layout for an adapter to essentially bolt this air cleaner base to the carburetors themselves. There was no nut here for attaching the top of the air cleaner, yeah, just a bunch of stuff like that. They were pretty much a complete disaster. But he essentially restored them and cleaned them up and so on. So just to remind you guys, anyone who may be new here, these are the carburetors. So these are SU carburetors. The setup is from an Australian company called Monaro, and they're bitchin', and you're not likely, unless you live in Australia, to see another set. They're made specifically for 36 horsepower Volkswagen. Even in Australia, I don't think they're super common. But anyway, so Rafa designed an adapter that'll appropriately bolt to the carburetors, and then he's going to weld those onto the carburetor bases, air cleaner bases that I just showed you. And yeah, they're going to look amazing. So he did that. And then the other thing was, this bus had some kind of wacky bulb holders on it. You can see some stuff there which just doesn't belong. Somebody had kind of rigged up, and they used what they had available. But we of course strive to make things better, and so Rafa took the original bulb holders, or what was sort of left of them, and don't know if those are in here or not, so you guys may have to take my word for this. Yeah, I don't know where they are. But anyway, he took the original bulb holders and he basically took some dual filament contacts and stuff out of a later model Beetle and adapted those, basically that part of the bulb holder to the barn door bulb holders, if that makes any sense. And so the end result is that we're actually going to have dual filament bulbs on the back here, and we're going to go ahead and wire in turn signals separately from the semaphores right there. So these will be dual filament now, so they'll basically serve as running lights, which is the original function of those. The brake light is this light here above the license plate, so that's normal for a barn door. And then both of these will also function as turn signals. So kind of cool, and actually a little bit safer if you're driving around. Most people, if they're driving in traffic and they see a car like this and this thing sticks out, they have no idea that's a turn signal. So we're going to put on some more quote unquote modern turn signals so that people will recognize when this guy goes to make a turn, so they don't slam into him like idiots, because people would do that. But anyway, so yeah, those are all modified now to accept a dual filament bulb. Again, originally single filament running lights only, now turn signals and running lights, and the brake lights again will retain there. So yeah, he worked on those things today and got those all ready. Might have been some other minor things. I think he got some more parts ready for chroming and plating and stuff like that, but the bulb holders and then the air cleaners were kind of the main thing. So for me, what I did is finally put in the engine and transmission in the gorgeous 68 double cab. They are in for real now. So you see that unlike all the other times when the motor was sitting there, there's no stand supporting it now. It's actually bolted to the car. So yeah, it is in for real now, as is the transmission. So here, I'll even prove it to you guys because I'm pretty excited. There it is. Look at that. all bolted in there. You see the front transmission mount up there. And yes, it doesn't have oil in it. But yeah, so it actually went in without any real drama. It went in pretty easily. What we actually ended up doing was, I was going to put them in as a unit, and Rafa said his preference is to actually put in the transmission, hook it up to the nose cone mount, and then support it with a jack. And then at that point, you're pretty much putting the motor in as you would on like an earlier car, where the exception being, instead of the transmission being supported by a cradle mount, you support it underneath from a jack. So went ahead and did it that way, and it went in quite easily actually. So pretty much a two-person job, because you're like balancing the motor on literally on a jack, and it's a little tipsy, but yeah, it basically went right in. And so then spent the rest of the day starting to hook stuff up, and there's a lot of stuff to hook up on this motor. So pretty much put it in without the air conditioner compressor, without the manifolds, without the throttle bodies, but pretty much everything else you see here was on it. And so yeah, got it in, got it bolted up, got the mustache bar all bolted up, the mounts on this side. And then, yeah, started connecting stuff and installing the intake manifolds, which did a rear nut on the intake manifold right there. Those are easy to get at. The ones on the opposite side, not so much. So, like I mentioned, I had the throttle bodies off, because then you can kind of go up over the top and get at the front manifold screws, which are, you know, kind of down in there. And yeah, so installed the manifold separately first. Actually, before I did that, there's a bunch of connectors and stuff back here, one of which is for the ECU, which you can barely see here. Got that plugged in the wires for the fuel pump, the fan for the oil cooler. Got all that stuff plugged in because it's all kind of back there. There's a relay that you can barely see right there. Plugged all that stuff in, and then kind of started working my way back. So the next thing was the manifolds, and then the throttle bodies, and then from there the compressor and its lines and stuff like that. So yeah, it's coming together pretty smooth. All the work that I did mocking things up and, you know, measuring stuff and making sure that the cables would sort of all end up in the right place kind of paid off, because this all went quite smooth. So this hose is not on with clamps yet, but I did kind of figure out the routing, and I ran it like I was hoping to, kind of again sneaking it underneath these air conditioning hoses here by the carburetor. And of course it attaches on the top of the fan shroud back here, because the normal outlet, which is back here, is blocked because of the air conditioner compressor. So yeah, this thing is pretty complicated, but it's all plumbed in now, and pretty much almost complete. Still got to hook up the throttle cable, and you know, there's still like a million little things that I have to do, but the big things are all pretty much done now. So I haven't even thought about when I will actually be starting this thing, but hopefully in the, I'll just say, not too distant future, we'll be putting some gas in this thing, and battery, needless to say, and see about firing this puppy up. So pretty exciting. But yeah, getting the engine and transmission in, that in itself, huge accomplishment, just because of the complexity of this thing with the air conditioning and heating, which isn't itself that complicated, but when you have heating on top of all this other stuff, it's just one more thing, you know. And fuel injection, it's the most complicated build I've done by any stretch of the imagination. So really pleased with how it's coming out here, and the guy's going to be cruising around in this thing with plenty of power, plenty of comfort, and should sound amazing with the A1 exhaust. Still got to put the muffler on, obviously, but yeah, so very happy with how this has come along. So that was pretty much my day right there. Mr. Jacob came in today and he did some sandblasting for some of the bumper components and stuff for the 67 Beetle here. Cleaned some parts, some odds and ends like that. So that was pretty much the day in our shop. The motor for this car is back together, the long block at least. So probably tomorrow I will be going over to the engine builder shop and then putting everything else on the motor, and then we'll fire it up on his dyno, and hopefully we shouldn't have any weird noises anymore. And I'll let you guys know when that happens, and then I'll explain why it was making so much noise. And hopefully it won't be leaking oil or anything. And then it'll go back in here and we can finish this puppy up and get it to this poor guy who's been very patient here with our trials and tribulations that we've had with this car, mostly related to the motor that this guy built for us. So what else? This motor here, we took it also to him today. Actually, he stopped by this morning and picked it up. And so that one is the one that had a pretty massive oil leak. So I'm just going to leave it with him until it's fixed, and then I'll take it back and we'll reinstall it. So anyway, that is it for today, guys. Appreciate you all watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.